Hi, this is Katina, and in this video I'm going to show you how to switch from B-flat clarinet to bass clarinet. The good news is that it's really not that hard. The way you read music will stay the same. You'll still be in treble clef, you'll still be in the key of B-flat, and your fingerings will still be the same with very few exceptions. So if you're playing a low A on the B-flat clarinet, you are still going to be fingering the low A on the bass clarinet. The difference is that it will come out an octave lower. Now, in general, band music is a lot easier for bass clarinet than it is for B-flat soprano clarinet, and my advice always to all of my bass clarinet students is to keep playing B-flat clarinet music on the bass clarinet. Keep challenging yourself. So if you're playing the rose etudes on the B-flat soprano clarinet, keep playing the rose etudes on the bass clarinet. It will make you a phenomenal bass clarinet player, and everybody will be amazed at your bass clarinet prowess, and it'll also keep you from getting extremely bored over some of your really easy band parts. Occasionally we do have band directors that will ask us to cover another instrument's part, so sometimes we do have to transpose depending on what instrument we're playing. We rarely get anything in bass clef. Sometimes the ledger lines can be tricky to read because we do go down a bit lower. We go down to a low E flat, and if you have a low C extension, you go down 3 more notes lower. If you're playing an orchestra, you will see bass clef more than you would in band music, and occasionally we have to transpose into C or A depending on the piece we're playing. Even worse, sometimes we have to transpose and still be in bass clef. The instrument, as you can see, is a whole lot bigger than a B-flat soprano clarinet. It is also a lot heavier, and it is easier to break and bend these long rods. You have to be careful when you put your instrument together and you take your instrument apart, and when you put it in the case, and when you carry that case around. I see people tossing their bass clarinet cases around and throwing them onto the floor, and you can break your instrument even if it's safely ensconced in its case. So just be careful about that. The bass clarinet case is heavy for me, so I actually put it on a luggage cart and pull it around that way. The difference here with the neck is also something to pay attention to. There are different kinds of necks on the bass clarinet. This is a Selmer, so when I play it's much more direct like this. And the Buffet tends to have more of a dip, and other brands have more of a dip in their neck as well, so it's closer to a B-flat clarinet placement in the mouth. I don't mind it this way. I actually think it's easier for me personally to play, so it depends on you. It's important, though, to not play the bass clarinet like a saxophone. Occasionally, because you can play it at this angle with a neck strap, which I do see, I unfortunately see people swinging it off to the side like a saxophone and holding it this way, and that's not how we're supposed to play it. You're supposed to play the bass clarinet straight in front of you. So pro tip, ladies, wear pants when you're playing the bass clarinet. It is very challenging to play this thing in a skirt. I know there are some band programs out there that require you to have a uniform that's a skirt. Go ahead and ask for an exception, so the material from your skirt does not get caught in these holes, which has happened to me. Another difference with bass and B-flat is this peg in here. Make sure you unscrew the screw here, put the peg at the length that you want it to be, and screw it back in. Don't jam it into the ground to get it at the height that you want it to be. That will strip the screw. It is hard to fix, and then the peg will start to slip, which is really hard to control your bass clarinet that way, especially if it's not your instrument and that poor soul that comes in after you has to deal with that. It's super annoying. Same thing goes for the tuning slide in the neck. When we tune our bass clarinet, you're going to unscrew the screw here, pull the tuning slide out to where you want it to be, and screw it back in. The reed on the bass clarinet is a lot bigger than a B-flat clarinet reed. You can see that there. They are more expensive and fewer come in the box just because it's more cane. You can also use tenor saxophone reeds on the bass clarinet, and they sound great. I actually really like the composite reeds for bass because my bass clarinet reed tends to dry out more than my B-flat clarinet reed, especially when I am doubling. So you can also do that as well. Try out one of those composite reeds. They do last a lot longer too. I already mentioned that the fingerings stay the same. They just come out an octave lower when you play the bass clarinet, and there are some notable exceptions, one of which is the low E flat key right here, because we go a half step lower than a B flat soprano clarinet. If you have a low C extension bass, you have even more keys. So right here for me is the D key, and then in the back I have a C sharp key and a C key, which is really fun to have keys that I use with my thumb. And then over here I have the alternate fingerings as well. Other fingerings that are different in the bass clarinet are the altissimo fingerings up here. Instead of just lifting up this finger like we do in B flat clarinet, you do hold that key down and let that vent key work for you. So just make sure that when you're playing lower that you've got that hole covered up, and then when you're in the altissimo, you have this part of your key pressed down. Some of the fingerings will be the same as B flat, some of them will be different. A lot of fingerings that are fake fingerings on the B flat and the altissimo work beautifully as a standard fingering on bass clarinet. Experiment, find which works best for you and your clarinet. Your embouchure on the bass clarinet is not going to be as strict as the embouchure that you need for a B-flat clarinet. So when we play B-flat clarinet, we need this real pointy chin, firm corners, a little bit of cushion there when we play. That's too firm for bass clarinet, at least for me. I get too many leaks that way, and it's a little bit harder for me to control. So I have a little bit more squishiness in the side to prevent those leaks. Also, the bass clarinet mouthpiece is a lot bigger, the reed's a lot bigger, and the angle that it goes into my mouth is a lot different than a B-flat clarinet. So I have to make adjustments in that department. You're going to have to find what works best for you. Just don't be too loose with your embouchure. That way you'll get kind of a spread sound and a lot of leaking. Another thing to pay attention to when playing bass clarinet is the voicing. That means where we put our tongue in our mouth, how we shape the inside of our mouth. So when I'm playing low into the bass, a very open feeling, especially the back of my throat, like I'm yawning. Sometimes I'll even yawn after I'm playing because I'm keeping the back of my throat so open. And then when I'm going up, I change my tongue position in there to get those notes to speak and also to keep a beautiful sound in those notes. Articulations on bass are also different for me. When I'm playing B-flat clarinet, I stay pretty steady right around here, tip of the tongue, tip of the reed. But because the bass clarinet reed is a lot bigger, I have a lot more palate to work with. I still do tip of the tongue, the tip of the reed most of the time. Other times when it's really high, I'll even go above the reed onto the mouthpiece. Sometimes I'll even anchor tongue. I can't tongue really fast that way, but I can get a great big articulation in there. You have a lot of room to work on this reed with your articulations. I also find double tonguing to be really easy on the bass clarinet compared to the B-flat clarinet for me. So if you've been wanting to try double tonguing and you have a bass clarinet or you're going to try bass clarinet, check it out. Let me know how it goes. I definitely find it's easier to double tongue on bass clarinet. That's about it. It really is fun to switch to bass. I have my students switch back and forth whenever they get a chance. All of the auxiliary instruments are fun to play, and it's also a good experience for us to play all the different instruments. It opens up our opportunities as clarinet players as well, not just in school for district band and all state auditions, but in college you get to play a lot more parts that way, and in the professional world you have a lot more marketability if you can play more clarinets than just the B-flat soprano clarinet. Please let me know what you think, what works for you. Have you switched to bass? How did it go? Let me know in the comments, and happy clarinetting. And please subscribe by hitting that clarinet hands icon so you don't miss the next videos. Bye.